Hey everybody, this is a video for how you guys can modernize your company FAQs to help your users find the information they're looking for faster, reduce requests to the help desk, and we're going to be doing this with a bot. And if you're anything like me, the thought of creating a bot sounds daunting, sounds technical, sounds like it's really complicated to do. Well, I had to create a bot for my Microsoft Ignite session a few weeks ago, and it really struck me just how really simple it is to get started creating a bot. Anybody can do it. I mean, anybody. You need zero technical ability to create a bot, especially something like a QnA bot that you can use to take place of a company fact. The only thing that you need is a subscription to Azure. That's it. If you've got a subscription to Azure, you can create a bot quickly without any pain and get a really awesome bot, really get a really great experience for users, and allow them to get their answers to things, to questions quickly using Teams, using a web client, using even in Skype or maybe even something like Slack. And what's really great about these bots is they use the AI cognitive services, so it can also register intent when a user asks a question. So they no longer have to type in or do a search for keywords, and they can just type a question and get back a natural response. So let's walk through this, and we'll spend a little more time kind of diving into some details than I did in my session at Ignite if you happen to have watched that Ignite session before. So at the heart of this bot that is going to replace your company FAQ is something called QnA Maker. You can go to QnA Maker at QnAMaker.ai right there. So you guys go there if you want to go there immediately, log in with your account that has Azure access, and you can get started creating a FAQ bot in just a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on create a knowledge base, because what we need is we need a knowledge base that is going to store all of our questions and answers. So the first thing you have to do is you have to create a QnA service in Azure. So luckily there's a button right here that will take you to that location in Azure for you to create that QnA service. Again, the only prerequisite you really need here is to have an actual Azure subscription and the ability to be able to create these services and then the bot we're going to be creating. So let's give our service a name. So I'll call this my QnA service. Give it a location. Give it a pricing tier. The F pricing tier, I believe, is the free tier. There's I'm not a pricing guru, but I know the F0 is the free pricing tier. Of course, I don't have any available pricing left for my account, so I'm going to choose one of these other S ones for now. Select a location. Let's put this in the West US. I'll give my QnA service correctly. Make sure you give it a unique name. Website location Central US, and then we will just Insights location. So you go through and you pick all these locations. Pick the locations closest to you. I would assume closest to your organization, and click on create. So all right, no technical ability there, just the ability to be able to put in a unique name, select some locations, and also select your pricing. So this is going to go through and create your QnA service. And after the QnA service is created, you can kind of get a notification. You'll get a notification up here saying the deployment was successful. So it says that our QnA service has been created. I can go to that resource. You can see it there in Azure. So now, when I go back to QnA Maker, I need to connect that knowledge base that I'm creating to that QnA service we just created. So I'm going to select my tenant, select my subscription, and then select my QnA service, which we see right here, my QnA service. So the next step is to give our QnA service, our knowledge base, a name. So I'm going to call this my modern FAQ. And then you need to populate the knowledge base. So when you populate the knowledge base, you have a couple of options. You can point your knowledge base at an existing knowledge base. This is a web page that is publicly accessible. And the cognitive services will actually scrape that page and be able to determine questions and answers. So that's really, really cool. You can upload a file of questions and answer pairs if you'd like, or you can manually add questions and answers later. So right now I'm not going to be uploading one of these files. We'll get to that in a second. The next thing you can do is if you want to give your bot a personality so that it can respond to random questions people ask, you can give that bot a personality using chit chat. So right now the options are the professional, the friend, and the comic. So let's go ahead and choose the comic, and let's give our bot kind of a personality, okay? And then we will create our knowledge base. So now the knowledge base is created. Since we selected we wanted that comic chit chat personality, it's going to show us our knowledge database. And you can see some of those questions and answers that are generated because of that personality. So when people ask questions, the bot's going to respond with a random answer, or an answer that's proportionate to its personality. So if you ask the bot how old it is, it's going to come back with "I'm age free." You can go through and you can add additional questions and answers for this bot as well. If there's a question and answer you don't like, you can just hit the trash can here and delete it. Maybe I don't want people asking about the bot's age, so I'm just going to delete that question answer pair. And you can add to these. You can train it yourself to say, I also want it to respond with "yup" for how about "are you good looking?" So there's nothing magical about this. This is just questions and answers that your bot will respond with for personality. You don't have to do this step either. If you don't want to give your bot a personality, it won't respond to anything. So we have our bot. We need to save and train it. And then we need to publish it. So that's it, right? We now have our knowledge base created. So that we have the ability to create a bot to interact and use that knowledge base with the responses in the knowledge base, along with like I said, uses the cognitive services to determine intent for those questions. So the user doesn't have to type in the questions exactly as they are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a bot and connect it up to this knowledge base. So over here in my Azure portal, I am going to go into my services. And I'm going to search for bot services. And I am going to create a bot. So I'm going to be creating a web app bot. And I need to give the bot a name. So let's call this my awesome FAQ bot. Select your subscription. Select your resource group. Select location. Again, select your pricing tier. Again, the F tier, I believe, is the free pricing tier. And then you choose your bot template. So when you select the bot template, it's going to show you a few options. Well, we want to use the QnA Maker. So we need to choose the SDK version v3. It doesn't matter if we choose C# or Node for this, but we want to create a question and answer bot. So let's select that. Go down through and again, select your location for your app insights and create the bot. So this is going to take a few minutes, but this is the process of actually creating a bot, a question and answer bot in Azure. And we'll get a notification up here whenever that is complete. So we'll give it just a couple of minutes. After our bot is created, we can actually test it from within the resource in Azure. If you go down to your bot management, you have this option to test in web chat. So if we click test in web chat, it's going to bring up a little test window that we can use to start chatting with this web bot that we just created, this question and answer bot. So if I type in hi and wait for a response, it's going to tell me that, hey, basically it's saying, hey, I'm not configured yet and you need to configure me. And what's really great is it gives you a link. And if we click on that link for this question and answer bot, it's going to walk you through a lot of the settings that we're doing in this video. So it walks you step by step through setting some keys so you know how to set some things. Again, this is really a simple process for really anybody to do, as long as you can read directions, right? So what it's telling us we need to do is that we have to set these fields, this knowledge base ID, QnA auth key, and QnA endpoint host name. And these are located within the application settings for our question and answer bot. So if we click on application and settings and scroll down, you can see those fields right here: auth key, endpoint, and knowledge base ID. So I'm going to go ahead and select these, and then I'm going to go back to my bot in QnA Maker. And after we published our bot and it gave us this information about the bot, it has the information that that bot needs from Azure to fill in those values. So it's got our host entry. So I can take this host entry, I can copy it, come over here to Azure and paste that in our host name. It's also got our knowledge base ID. So I can copy that and paste that in our knowledge base ID. And it has our authorization endpoint key. So I can copy that and paste that in to the QnA auth key, and I can save that. So we've now configured this bot to talk to our knowledge base. So if I go back to test in web chat now and type in hi, it's going to respond with that answer from the knowledge base. See, it responds with hey now. And I can even start asking it questions. Because we gave it that personality, I can ask it some questions. Right? So I can say, what's your favorite color? See, so it's responding with those answers from that chit chat, giving it a personality. And what it's doing, it's using cognitive services to determine the intent of the question I'm asking. So I don't have to ask that question exactly as specified by the question answer pair. Like I said, how are you? And it said live in the dream. And I could also say, what are you feeling? Let's see what that returns with. Right, so you basically go in there, start typing, and we've now got a bot responding to us with a personality to random questions. That's cool and fine, but that doesn't really help us from a professional standpoint. But I did want to point out that we now have a functioning bot, and we've never written a line of code. We haven't done any technical work. But let's make this FAQ bot a little more helpful. So I'm going to go back into the QnA Maker here, and I'm going to edit our service. And I am going to go into the settings, and in these settings you can add a URL to FAQ, and you can also add a file of questions and answers. So what I've done is I have created a very small spreadsheet with a few questions, and these are, maybe you pull these from your current company FAQ, maybe you come up with these on your own, but you can have anybody just come open up an Excel spreadsheet and fill it with question answer pairs. So I'll say, like, what is today? It feels like Monday. And I've got some questions about bacon. Shocker, I know. And this is just a Excel spreadsheet. So I can take this Excel spreadsheet and I can add this file, and then I can just choose that Excel spreadsheet and add it. And then once I've added that, I would then need to again save and train the knowledge base. And again, it's going to extract those question answer pairs. And when that's done, we can now publish it again. So now it's published. So if I come back into Azure, into my web chat and test it again, I can ask it those questions I added. So if I look at those questions, I believe one of them was, what is today? See, it comes back, it feels like Monday. Well, maybe I want to know, where does bacon come from? bacon seeds. See, it's responding to those questions from my spreadsheet. And again, it does have some intent involved. So if I type in, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see. What if I type in, what is the origin of bacon? Let's see what it responds with. See, so it wasn't quite able to understand that question. So if you think, well, someone should be able to ask the question, what is the origin of bacon? And that one doesn't actually work. You could come into your QnA service. You can edit the service, and then you can go to those questions. And here's the question of where does bacon come from? And it says bacon seeds. So I can say, well, I also want that a valid answer for what is the origin of bacon. And then you would go through the process of saving this and publishing it. And then that will now respond properly to that question. So this gives you the ability to try out the bot. If the AI is not quite getting the intent correctly, you can actually give it another answer or another question to answer to prompt that question. So this allows users to type questions in many different ways and give them the right answer. So this is pretty cool, but we all have these company FAQs that have been sitting out there for years with a lot of information, and maybe we don't want to go through the process of turning that into an Excel spreadsheet. Well, we do have another way of getting information into our knowledge base, and that is by giving it a URL to your knowledge base. So I searched the web for a good 5 minutes looking for a good bacon FAQ, and there's not one out there. So maybe I'll take that upon myself to go and create my own. But I wanted to show you guys that you could point your QnA, your QnA Maker, your knowledge base at a URL and get some great content. So what I did is I found Microsoft's FAQ for software. And you can see there's frequently asked questions, how do I find my product keys? I purchased my copy of Windows through university. So there's just a lot of question and answers here on their FAQ site. So maybe these would be good this could be, again, equivalent to your company FAQ, or maybe it's just something you want to do to give people answers to questions they ask a lot. So I can actually take the URL of this FAQ, bring it over into QnA Maker, and save that. And so what QnA Maker is going to do now is it's going to go through that URL. It's going to convert that into questions and answers that can be responded to by the bot. And then of course we need to publish it again. So let's go ahead and publish it. And now we have our knowledge base is populated with a personality because I use that chit chat. It's populated with my Excel spreadsheet of my question and answers, and it's populated with the FAQ from Microsoft Software Download. So it can now respond to question and answers from all of those. I guess I should point out that you also have the ability, if you really want to, of manually adding your own question and answer pairs. So if you just want to type them in directly from QnA Maker, you have that option as well. So now if I go back to our web client and let's ask it a question that was in the FAQ. Where can I download Windows? I don't even know if that was a question, but let's find out what happens. And look, it has a response for that. You can download an ISO copy of Windows to use with a non-Windows device. Follow these links, right? And so it's actually took all that information from the FAQ and it was able to put that in there. So let's find another one. What's the difference between 32-bit and 64-bit Windows? So let's ask it, do I need 32-bit or 64-bit Windows? Right? That wasn't the way the question was asked, worded in the FAQ. But if I type it in that way, it should be able to determine the intent, and it tells you a response that was based upon that. Okay, so we now have a bot. And except for my rambling, you could have created this in just a few minutes. And it is now an effective way for users to ask questions. The only thing we need to do now is to get this bot in a platform in which the users can actually take advantage of the bot. And to do that, we need to add a channel for that bot to communicate with. So we're going to click on channels here in Azure. And we can add different channels. And if you look at the channels available, we could create a channel in Skype for Business, in Teams, for an email, Facebook Messenger, Slack. So there's a lot of options. Oh, sorry, this is regular Skype and this is Skype for Business. But there's a lot of different channels we can create. Well, since Teams is where all of our users are doing their work today, let's go ahead and add this bot to Teams so people within Teams can ask the questions when they need to. So I'm going to add a Teams channel. Click on Done. And that's it. I've now created the Teams channel. And if I click on Microsoft Teams on that channel, it's going to prompt me to open Teams. So I'm going to say Open Teams. And it's going to open a chat window with that bot we created in our Teams environment. Now, if you're creating a bot and you get to this step, you've stuck with a video that long, and you see here where I can type in a question. If this is disabled and you can't type questions in here, it means you have not enabled side loading of apps from the Teams administration interface in your tenant. So you'll need to get an admin to go in there if you don't have the permissions and enable side loading so that you can test your bot from within Teams. But I can now chat with that bot like I did before. I can say hi. And it's going to respond with hey. And again, I can say, well, what is today? It feels like Monday. What is Canadian bacon? Ham, of course it is. Okay, well, what do I need to know about Windows licenses? Oh, look, a lot of stuff. So this bot is now working within Teams using that same knowledge database to get back the answer. So now that we've got it working, we know it's working in Teams, we now need to create an app that we can install in Teams so that everybody can use our awesome bot. So to do that, you need to go to the store within Teams, and you're going to need to install the App Studio. This is a tool that allows us to create and manage apps for Teams. So I've already got it installed, so instead of saying install, it just says available for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to be creating a bot. So I'm going to click on Open, and the App Studio has its own bot that we can ask questions to, but I'm just going to go over to the manifest editor. And from here, I'm going to create the app for the bot. So I'm going to click on Create a New App. And I need to give the app some the details about the app to Teams. So this is going to be, give it a name. Let's say my awesome FAQ bot. The website, oh gosh, it doesn't really matter for it to work. You just make sure you have a URL in there. So I'll just put in paid group. Short name, let's call it awesome bot for the short name, and the long name will be my awesome FAQ bot. Your app ID, just go ahead and tell it to generate one. Package name, let's go ahead and just say my awesome FAQ bot. Version 1.0.0. Description, it answers questions. Questions. Again, it wants more URLs for your privacy statement, for terms of use. And then we have the option of uploading some icons. So I'm going to go ahead and upload some icons that I previously created here. So if we go to our pictures, I've got a bacon icon here. Shocker, I know. Another bacon icon for the 32 by 32. And then let's give it an accent color of red. How about red? Okay. So there's the app details. Then for the capabilities, I'm creating a bot. I need to set up that bot. And I'm going to be using an existing bot because our bot's already created. What is the name of our bot? It is my awesome FAQ bot. And now it's asking for the app ID for that bot. So if we come back into Azure, go into the settings for our bot, we will scroll down to the Microsoft App ID. And so I'll copy that, paste it, and then you have a scope. You have the option for a personal scope or a team scope. If it's a personal scope, the bot will appear here under your More Apps. If it's a team scope, you can actually add it to a tab within a team. So I'll go ahead and select both so you can see that. So we're going to save that. And now go to Test and Distribute. And I can either install this on my tenant or I can download it to where I can upload it later. I'm going to go ahead and go through the download piece of it just so you guys can see that in case you're uploading other apps later. So I'm going to go ahead and download this package. So it says to check my download folder. And now if I go into my store, I'm going to have the option to upload a custom app. So I'm going to click on Upload a Custom App. I'm going to tell it to upload it to my tenant, for my tenant. And I'm going to go to Downloads. And here is our awesome bot. So I'm going to open that. Here's our awesome bot. And it's giving me options here. I wanted to add it to, I told it I wanted to be a personal bot. It's also asking me which team do I add it to. Let's add it to my dev team and install it. And it's saying what channel do you want to add it to. I'll just add it to my general channel and set it up. So I've now got this bot installed. It's installed on the channel I told it to, and even brings up the prompt here from within that channel where I can start talking to that bot. So I can say, awesome bot, how are you today? Living the dream. Okay, well, how about where do I download Windows? And see, when it does not find a match, it's going to return this answer of no match, try changing the query terms. So this will let you know that the questioner answered is not it's not being able to interpret that and get back the proper answer. So you can go and you can add that question in your knowledge base to what you want the response to be. Where does bacon come from? Oh, okay. Where does bacon come from? So you just mention that, ask the question, and it's going to respond. You can also click on, hover over the bot, and it's going to give you information about the bot and allows you to start messaging that bot if you want to. And because I said it was a personal app, I can come over here to the More Apps, and you'll see it listed here as well. So if I wanted to go straight to the bot, I can just click on it from here and start talking to that bot. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So I now have the ability to continue to add and tweak the questions and answers in the knowledge base and republishing that. Now people in teams can start using this bot immediately and get the answers to their questions. I really think this is such a great way to get started with bots and give your users just immediate benefit from it. Like I said, with very little effort. I mean, I didn't write a line of code. I had to know how to copy and paste GUIDs and that sort of thing, but it's not technical at all. So I definitely encourage you guys to jump in there, start playing. And as I explore bots more, I hope to start doing some more videos for bots and start showing you guys other things you can do, like using cards with bots, start making them more interactive, and maybe start having users do more complicated processes with these bots. Hope you found it useful. Hope you start creating bots. And thanks for stopping by.